See this guy? He's generated over $30 million from his laptop, all with 0 employees, only working a handful of hours a day. How does he do it? He is an affiliate marketer. He finds products with high margin that people want, and he puts it in front of the right buyer to purchase. I wanted to find out, how is this possible? So I asked him. If you want to make money online and not follow all the fake gurus' advice, this video is for you.
I want to figure things out, maximize them, and then move on. While other people prefer to repeat it. The moment I started selling health products was the time I was getting healthier. Again, the universe brought it together.
When you meet your heroes, you think that they're like superhumans, but they're usually just really good at one thing.
Stick to one thing and hyper focus. Like that's all you have to do in order to make it. You're not getting to the next big goal because you just...
Before we start this podcast, I have one little favor to ask you. Can you please hit the subscribe button down below so we can help more people every single week? Thank you. But isn't that interesting how like if you do nothing, that's when you feel worse.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you're really, really fucking busy, it doesn't matter if you're working 4 hours a week or 6 hours a day. That is actually what's going to contribute to you feeling actually worse or better.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's fine. Like it's funny. Like if you don't do that, you don't know what you're missing out. So you think that state is normal. But if you get out of that and you stick to, and if you stick to it for a long period of time, anytime you will not work out for a few days, a week, whatever it is, you're gonna feel it and you're gonna go back in it.
So the opposite is also true. If you're super unhealthy, you don't know what it feels like to be healthy.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And then you spend 6 weeks or 2 months, whatever, sitting down like a fucking fatty, right? Not doing anything. But whereas like where we come from, just being somewhat healthy, well, obviously we were taking it very seriously. Then it's like, if you do get sick, you're like, oh my God, I do not want to go back to that life.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing for me as well. Like playing fucking entrepreneur, it was like, I didn't want to go down that path of being the typical person who's just burnt out, fat, lazy, overwhelmed. Like what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. I guess same, like, you know, they say like, oh, you have to grind, you need to train, you need to wake up at certain times, blah, blah, blah. I made a lot of money when I was eating shit, not working out, being fat, and just have no private life. So obviously it's unsustainable. And I think of life more as a marathon as a sprint. Actually, it's a marathon of sprints, I would say. Like there's always sometimes we have to push, but keeping a balance is crucial, like for the long term. So all this culture around, I don't know, working too hard, like I think it's nonsense. Of course you need to put in the grind, but I think it's bullshit that you know, persuade people or viewers that this is how it is. You need to grind, wake up at 5, blah, 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 work all day. Like when you have time to think, like I feel like that's what get people stuck in the rat race, no? Like they just work, and they never get time to think about, you know, what they actually should be doing and not doing. Yeah. So my biggest switch, I mean, there's levels to it. Like from 0 to 1, I had my experience. From 1 to 10, I had another experience. From 10 to 100, that's when I reduced my work hours. I went to a Muay Thai camp in Thailand, and I just decided to take it as an experiment to work just a few hours per day and just see how the business reacts. Obviously, fucking scared at first. Yeah. But that's when the breakthrough came after a few months.
It's funny, right? Because like it's almost like inconsistencies in what you see online. It's because if you're getting advice from like a bunch of different people that are telling you to grind super hard, and then some guys are telling you to do nothing, you get caught in what I call like the personal development trap, right? It's just like a rat race. You're just going around in a circle, but not because the advice is wrong, because it's like everything is right in isolation. So 0 to 1, you need to grind your ass off, and then 1 to 10, then you need to be a bit more strategic focus. 10 to 100 needs to make another adjustment. But how do you think about that when you're like educating people online? Because that's something I'm very conscious of with the podcast. Is the fact that I want to make sure that we don't have like conflicting views, not from the guests, but mainly from me. You know, I don't want to say things that are like, you know, not in alignment week over week. And I've seen some of the biggest podcasters in the world actually have that kind of conundrum, which is like they run into saying things to just appease people versus having a consistent stream of thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, it does help if you work hard in the beginning at first, but if you die in that process, or if you're like burn out too quick, what's the point? So I feel like anywhere you are, I think it's good to like, I see like, I think life of like a tree, like, you know, it grows every day a little bit and you build out new roots to have a more stable tree. So you shouldn't rush the process. But the experience is going to teach you that. At first you don't know. Like I feel like when you're starting out, you're like super hungry and you want results as fast as possible. But over time, for example, now I'm doing new businesses, but I've been in the place before where I didn't know if it was going to work. I mean, now I know it's going to work. It's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah.
And knowing that gives you that peace of mind to execute every day without rushing the process and chasing those results right away, because that could actually fuck it up.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you gain with the experience. At the beginning, you don't know that, but sometimes I wonder, what would I tell my 15-year-old self? I would tell him, relax, it's gonna work out. Keep doing what you're doing. The direction is more important than speed. Don't fuck it up. Basically. So.
That's interesting, man. And like, if you think about the beginning, and this is going to be interesting, because we can go through like the evolution of like where you're at now, and I want to go through the business structure and what you have too. But in the beginning, a lot of it is driven by fear, right? That was the biggest thing for me, was like, I want this to work out. I don't want to go back to my shitty job. I was actually doing it on the side of when I used to work in finance. I used to work for like investment banks, and I used to work for tech companies, VC companies. But I just wanted it to work so much out of fear. And then you almost like evolve out of that.
But that's fine.
Exactly.
That's fine.
When you had that evolution, right?
Yes, you need that, because at first, people chase pleasure or like the passion, the ultimate goal in life. But that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself when you don't know nothing about shit. Like you need to figure out a few things first. And I love to talk about this, because a lot of people chase pleasure, but it's better to run away from pain at first. So I was in school. I hated school. I mean, it was fun because I was fucking around with my mates.
And you were in school, man. That's so early.
yeah. I guess the wake-up call was sitting in the metro every single day. And, you get faced with the question, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what do you want to do when you finish school? So I was very thoughtful about it. And I had 2 hours a day sitting in a tube doing nothing. I had no iPhone or whatever. So I would look around and I would smile. I would laugh with my friends. And people around me would look sad. And I was asking myself, where are they going? It's 7 a.m. They're probably going to work. And this is how it looks like. That looks terrible. I don't want to end up there. So how do they get there? It's the same path. Get good grades in school. Go to a good university. Get good grades there. So you're going to get a good job. And then retire when you're 60. I was like, no way. If this is what it looks like, I'm not interested. So then I started thinking about it even more. So then I was like, okay, what do I want and what do I don't want? And it's equal. Both are like, knowing what you don't want is equally important as knowing what you want. And at first, maybe you don't know what you want, but you don't know what you don't want. So sitting in school and knowing that after school or college, I would need to, go to university, whatever. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I know I don't like it. So how can I avoid that? Step one. How can I know I still need to educate myself, but what I want to do, like I want to run away from that. And knowing that I wanted to run away from that was a big driver. So that's when I started being more active in my mind. Like, okay, I need to figure out how to make money and etc. So, okay, I want to do business. Is business school the best? No. Who teaches classes in business schools? Some advisors that read books about things but never actually put their hands in the dirt and figure it out themselves. Why? Otherwise, they wouldn't be sitting there. So, okay, do I want to get advices from that, or maybe network and travel the world and meet other entrepreneurs? First decision, clear. How do I get there? Meet people locally. Make some money. Try to go outside of your own little village. But it's damn hard at first because you don't have the money. Your friends don't know what you're talking about. They're not interested. So it's fucking difficult. So first I needed to isolate myself from like my circle that was talking me down, making fun of me because I was building Facebook pages and being obsessed with it. And like, hey, you're not going to make it. Now they're all in DMs asking me how to start, but that's okay.
And none of them have even changed, right? If you think about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if they're happy, God bless them. But if if they complain, like, I don't judge if you did this path and you're happy. Like, if you went to university, you find a good job, God bless you. The goal is to be happy, not to have $1 million in your bank. Or both. I mean, ideally both. But
yeah. And, from someone who's, I come from like a traditional family and they've all done a traditional path. Some people are quite smart doing a traditional path. I can very much say that that's not the path to being happy, right? Because because you don't unlock that extra element of like wealth, and then you go pursue like freedom, which is what you've done and what I'm on the path for doing as well, then you unlock that next level, right? Whereas when I was doing those jobs when I was younger, I wasn't happy. I was completely depressed during that process. I remember I could barely get out of bed to go to university, to go to these jobs. So it's like, yes, the grass is always greener. It might seem like that, but the reality is completely different, right? And I like to say like rough roads end smooth, smooth roads end rough, for that exact reason. Because if you can take the easy path like that, go into university, get the job, well, you're gonna have a pretty miserable end of life, right? And I've seen that over and over again. And of course, the opposite is also true at times. But I don't know. I would never want to be in a position where I don't have control of my own destiny. And that's why I mentioned you about the skills, right? Because that's what you have now.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to choose your heart, then choose it wisely. And yeah, a lot of people finish high school and then they don't know what they want to do. So they pick university out of, let's say, not boredom, but because they don't know any better choice. Yeah. But also because it's not in our educational system to give us other choices. It's all the same. You know, like this is picture that I saw, like a tree goes to school, gets out, they all look like the same, how you call it, trunks. Like, so it's like, okay, that no personality is developed. So when I was looking for colleges, I actually found one that was decent. It was focusing more on each individual. And I like that approach. What I didn't like was I had to sit there still like 5 hours a day. And I was like, when do I get to work on my business more and more? So I didn't go. But yeah.
I like it, man. I like that because you were able to identify much earlier on. You know, most guys never get to this point. Think about that. They'll go through the job. They'll get the mortgage. They'll do everything. They'll never get to that point. I want to ask you about the driving factor. I've heard you mention that, you know, your family struggled with money. So did mine growing up. Considered.
Yeah, I mean, normal family.
Normal family.
I would say. The only driver I would say was my parents divorced.
Okay.
And I always felt that I had to support my mom, like since forever. So that was definitely one of the drivers.
Do you think that's kept you driving continuously for the past couple of years? Has that been a driving factor?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Take care of mama. It's important.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
I think most guys like overlook that, right? Is that what got them kind of in the beginning? They're thinking like, oh, like that's done. That's taken care of. But you need to like always be almost working on those different components. Otherwise, like, why are we doing it? Right? Again, it's not just about the money in the bank. It's about the life that you can create for people around you.
Yeah. Well, I was obsessed with money, like for a good amount of time. That fear, you know, I was like, I need money. You had kind of that feeling of scarcity. So even if I started making thousands of dollars a day in profit, I was like, let's continue. At some point, it's funny. I remember I got the millionaire status and I was like, fuck, this doesn't solve all the issues.
Money solves money problems.
Yeah, I was like, okay, now why is this still not, like, I came home and I still saw the same problems in my family. And I was like, fuck, I thought I would just cover my mom and money and that would be it. But then she wouldn't accept it. So now she works with me. So that's the beauty of it. So then you need to still find ways. But yeah, a big driver. So definitely a big driver was running away from what I didn't like. So it's not like I do affiliate marketing. I didn't dream of, my dream was to become a footballer. If I followed my passion, I would still just play football. I mean, I still do, but it's not the only thing I do. So fuck passion, just get away from the uncomfortable situation you're
100%.
in. And like make it, you're not going to change if you feel like you should be changing that. Maybe it would be better if you didn't have to worry about your bills. No, you should never fucking worry about your bills. You should never
100%.
worry not to have money in the bank or like count the money when you need to pay rent. Like get that out of the way. And I feel like that's the first thing any beginner should do. Like that's the first step, I feel, because if you have that continuous, these continuous emotions of negativity, of stress, and like, you know, you get in that survival state, you're never going to think bigger. So I feel like that's the first step I would go to. So like, forget about making $1 million. Start with making $5,000, $10,000 a month and then from there on, build, start building. Because
I don't know. I think it's what's interesting there is the fact that like, you need to be able to have that evolution, as you said. It's going to take time, but you need to evolve through it. And it was definitely the beginning for myself too, was the fact that I think like it's interesting. A lot of guys are so focused on the vehicle and they're thinking like, is it affiliate marketing? Is it SMA? Is it drop shipping? Whatever. But they're less focused on like solving the problem for the individual, right? Like who are we actually serving? How can we solve them? Like you were using gadgets, right? They're using pharmaceutical products or supplements. Like they solve specific problems that's why people were buying them. So you were able to tap into that, which is kind of interesting because then people aren't falling in love with the vehicle. They're just thinking about the vehicle. And I've seen a lot of guys, especially in Bali, that they're not growing or not getting bigger because they're too focused on, I'm trying to find something that suits me. Back to the passion thing, right? Passion is not relevant. What's important is finding a vehicle that works. Like we have a media company for that exact reason, right? Media is super fucking hot. A lot of people want to get involved in the online space, especially in podcast space. So it works. My dreams were to build a unicorn startup, VC-backed fucking tech company. I'm not doing that. Might do it in the future possibly, but I'm doing what's working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Because you're prioritizing yourself first,
Sure.
Getting out of a situation. And I think that's smart, like, yeah, I mean, again, I didn't want to, I was also doing e-commerce before. Like I did affiliate, then e-commerce and back to affiliate. Why did I go back to affiliate? Quicker and easier. It got me to the goal faster. Like, why would I work 15 hours, 18 hours a day, sometimes at peak? Because I had like warehouses around the world, different gadgets, different products, blah, 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 manage everything, import, export, marketing. And I was like, I'm making pennies on the dollars compared to when I was doing affiliate. And then that's why on the side, I restarted affiliate. And then late 2019, early 2020, boom. And then I would work 5% of my time on affiliate. And no kidding, I think that year the peak revenue in 1 month was like $5 million. And the peak revenue from my e-commerce was maybe 300K in a month. And I was like, okay, this has to stop. I can't work 95% of the time on something making me, I don't know, $1-2 million a year compared to affiliate. So then I had to exit it and I stopped doing that.
And are you still one person business doing that?
Yeah, me and my partner.
What?
Yeah. It's funny because I know some guys that have like, they do similar revenues as us, like $10-20 million range a year, I would say, or up to 30. And they have like, I don't know how many employees.
In affiliate or?
No. Classical agency.
Yeah.
Because you work with more clients. It always depends. Like, I think as an agency, you can also make a lot of money if you have just a few clients that pay you a lot of money. Yeah. But in general, the way the model is, it incentivizes you to have more people. So
does every business though, right? In some degree, like if you were doing e-commerce, you're going to need more suppliers, more customer fulfillment, all that kind of shit, right? Same with a software company, like you're going to need more people to work on customer support. So it's very interesting how like affiliate is like inverse to that, whereby you can get you need the right
products. Though.
Yeah, you need the right products. We can get into that, of course, in terms of like your psychology of how you've done that. But what's interesting is so like our company it's a media company, and we have like it's a client relationship.
But can you guide me through real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So we basically grow and monetize podcasts. So that's like some big like creators. But what's interesting, what changed here, which is interesting, is the fact that I saw this scope creep. More employees. And we grew from like 1 to 10 people very quickly, not in the same relationship with the revenue going up. Because I saw it, right? I saw firsthand that we needed more people. What was the biggest switch there was with the clients we have, how can we make more money with them? Not from them, but with them. And that's why we went into more of like a grow partnership. So I would say nearly 50% of our clients, we have a revenue share on their business. And obviously we need to provide a lot of value for that, right? We need to help them with their offer and build their offer and everything. Yeah. So we run the content, but then we also have the business running sideways with it. And I think what's interesting is like traditional agency, like stuck at like 6 figures a year. The best agencies maybe at like 7. And I think this kind of model that we're doing is an 8-figure play. Very tough to get there, of course, right? Extremely tough. I'm not trying to say that.
Oh, it makes more sense.
You have the upside. And the way I kind of see it is like, it's like a VC model. It's exactly like that. But obviously you don't own the company. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of run into kind of problems with this, because like they'll get to their first 10 employees and there's a load of, you find this interesting.
You could own the company. I mean, you could do a proper company with the creators if you're building out the business for them. So it's not excluded.
For sure. And you could take a partnership of it, or you could take an ownership of it.
Yeah.
But I just think what's interesting there is the fact that, you know, you're only limited by your creativity. So like you've cracked the fact that you've had to sit very small with your partner. There's no employees, 2 of you. But many people will try to replace themselves in a broken business that they haven't fixed. Do you get me? Instead of trying to optimize, which is what you've done, you've become fucking razor sharp at getting your ads right.
But I did both. I tried to replace myself in a broken business that I still had to figure out. Yeah. And then I did the opposite. Yeah. But you gotta fail and learn.
For sure, man.
Actually, it was impossible to replace myself from this one. And I've tried, even when I was peaking, like all of it.
What do you think that was?
So consider my average day, or like let's say average week would look like make a couple ads and wait. And I've seen, especially my niche in US, all of the ads. Why? Because I was also the one, let's say, innovating. Because we had this format of ads via sales. It's not new, but we were pretty much the first ones to run a 40-minute ad on platforms. Usually you see like 2-minute ad, whatever. Yeah. So then, because of that, it started booming. Like this was the winning format. And when you find a winning format, I just focus on improving it and always, you know, get the attention again, blah, 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 blah. Then the side effect was that everyone started doing it, which is fine. But then everyone would copy. So I never really looked at others. I mainly stayed focused on what's working for me. And that's it. And that's why I had to stay creative. And I knew what I tested in the past, all the angles. So I knew what was working and what not. So before you catch up to that level, for this specific niche and this market on this platform, you need to have all this experience. So it's very hard to teach. So there are many good video editors. I'm not a great video editor, but I know how to make these videos, you know? So I don't have motion graphic skills or whatever. It's not even really needed. I mean, you can hire some people to do basic things, but what's gonna make money, that's what you know. In fact, marketers nowadays are sort of video editors as well. Like if you find a pure video editor, he's not gonna understand marketing. But a marketer will be able to make a simple video ad, if that makes sense.
And talk me through that process. So for people that don't know the context, like you're basically running ads to products, right? And if you're doing affiliate from that, so you're taking a percentage of this. But what is it that you've learned about the psychology of people buying? Because you're doing an e-commerce, right? What is it that you're learning that you're tapping into, especially in how you create things, right? Even the videos and everything, because as you said, no one can replace you, right? So let's try to understand how you do it. Yeah.
You always need to, I think it's the basics nowadays. Hooking people, first seconds, don't make them skip. And usually how do you hook? Like it's a big topic. It's not easy to create hooks. It's
not repeatable.
Sorry?
It's not like repeatable that anyone can do it. Like it's specific.
It's hard. Like it's simple, but it's not easy. And even if you grab their attention, are you going to be able to convert it? But let's just stick to the first part. I went through so many angles, and usually, like, because we work with health stuff, you can't make jokes about health. For example, you need to be serious. You need to stick to facts. You need to stick to very common things that people eat in our case. So basically, like, finding ways to relate to people, but not the usual way. Like, because anyone that starts running ads and wants to make a hook for a product and they come up with a hook idea, I promise you that hook idea has been tested over and over again, and it's not new and fresh. So you gotta think deeper. That's why everyone comes like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sell coffee. Like, oh, do you feel tired in the morning? Seen that before. It's more interesting, like, to maybe go around it. So instead of like, which milk is better for you? Oat milk or this? So then you face them with like a question of health. Like, we all have that situation where we go to the supermarket or we order a coffee. We're faced with that question. It's slightly deeper, and it's also more interesting because we think about it. No, what is it? Is it better to have whole milk, but do they put like antibiotics and blah blah blah, or better oat milk, but there are too many oils? So that's more interesting, I think. But it's something you have to test. I'm not saying this angle will work now, but it's one of the angles that work for us, for example. But you need to think that extra step. It's not, and that's why it's important to test many different angles and the hook will define the success of the campaign, most of the cases, because 70% of people are going to drop out after 20 seconds.
Same with a podcast, same with a YouTube
of course,
video.
like everywhere. So that's why it's the hardest thing to do. And then, of course, there are all the triggers. And afterwards, you present them with problems. You try to relate with people with what they face in terms of problems. So you create this emotional relatability. I'm just talking strictly about ads.
But it's everything though. You know, the way you've taken this into your content, the lessons you've learned over those years is exactly how you create YouTube videos, podcasts, short form, tweets.
Yeah.
Have that emotional connection, have that hook, have that relatability, relevance, authority figure.
Yeah.
It's the same shit, man.
Yeah, it is. In the end, it is. I would say, I'm just more, let's say, vertical on this, but now we start making YouTube videos as well, and
as you transfer
can
over, right?
Yeah, but it is still different. Like making a BSL and making a banger vlog, it's different.
True, but it's almost like your starting point is really, really high though, because intuitively, you know, well, if I'm talking about something that's completely unrelated to my potential audience, people that are young and want to get into the affiliate space, it's going to be all over the place, right? So you're able to kind of bring through those stories, and that's why skills compound. Right? It's like everything you do helps you in your next endeavor. Like you said about the business, your next business, of course it's horrific. Everything is horrific in the beginning, but you've been stacking for so long that subconsciously or consciously, you have the capacity basically to go to the next level.
Yes. And you have the confidence as well.
Confidence.
I think the confidence is the main thing, but still there's so many business people that try to get into media and they don't make it. And there's so many people in media that want to run a business and they can't make it.
Yeah.
So there's so many differences that you have to own. And I think that's the hard part. And now I'm figuring out media because distribution of content is changing the game for many businesses. Yeah. It's a different way to build audiences. I made an example with friends, and I speak about it often. Like if you do paid ads to sell your courses, you're not going to create community as much as you're going to create community if you create media pieces that you distribute. 100%. And combining the two is powerful without, annoying people with ads.
Yeah, so it's a deadly combination.
Yeah.
It's everything, right? Because it's like you run all the four. Well, actually, if you were to add in extra elements, not relevant for you, but it'd be like outreach, right? So if you get really fucking good at outreach, which is where I started from in sales, I was able to basically bypass the ability to worry about, can I make another sale? Because I can always contact someone, getting better at contacting people. So it's like, if you can run outreach, if you can do content, if you can do ads, and if you have like a referral program in your company, you're pretty much fucking good for the rest of your life, right? Put me in Alaska naked. I'll work my way out. There's like, but it's like you're building up to it. Let's actually get into that because I found it very interesting because your bread and butter was in ads and now you're coming to the content space. So what was the trigger for you to come out of like the anonymous world and then come into the content space? Like what was that trigger initially? Do you want to launch a podcast for your business, but you don't know where to start? Remove the stress, pressure, and all the overwhelm that comes with it by working with Podcast University. If you're an ambitious individual who wants to build your influence online, grow your own podcast, and also stand out from the crowd, Podcast University is for you. We help you with the strategy, equipment, the content, your guests, everything you need to create a top-tier podcast. If you want to learn more, check out Podcast University and start your podcast journey today.
Boredom, curiosity to try something new challenge, because money is not a big driver. I want to make a lot of money. I'm a capitalist. I love money. Money is great, but I want to continue growing. So this is like the next step. Also, I always had this desire in me to like do media. I consume a lot of media, but I never wanted to do it until I proved myself that I was worth doing it. So that's why I stayed low key, anonymous, because I had to. Like it just served me better. Like imagine I started doing content while my campaigns would crush it. Like I would have a plan B and fuck plan B. You need to stick to plan A and make it work and like just destroy it, like become great at it. So after a few consecutive years of like, damn, there's not many people in the space doing this, There are, but like it's a small percentage. I was like, okay, I need the next thing. You know, like I'm a bit different than my partner. I want to figure things out, maximize them, and then move on. While other people prefer to repeat it over and over again, which is great. But how my mind works is like, I need a new thing to figure out.
Your CEO.
Yeah, more creative, you know, like my mind gets bored after some time if I repeat it a lot. I don't jump from one thing to another, but after some time I need to. So I think it's kind of like a thin line between like being creative and not sticking to anything, you know? It's a thin line nowadays because kids cannot focus on anything. You know, they can't watch a podcast if there isn't Fortnite playing on underneath. You know, that's
ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So if you have that issue, delete social media and get your fucking head straight, first of all. So then in business, you can, you know, run smoother. Same thing, because a lot of people want to be a YouTuber nowadays, an affiliate marketer, then they want to start an agency, and at the same time, they want to do other 10 different things, and they want to buy meme coins and become a millionaire. Gets you fucking nowhere. Stick to one thing and hyper focus. Like that's all you have to do in order to make it. Then if you maxed out on an approach and that is not serving you well, find a new way to get to your goal, but don't quit on the entire thing.
How do you identify that?
Takes time. Like I feel like for me, it was enough to know that it was possible and people around me were doing it. So that's why I found people in the world that were doing what I wanted to do. And it's funny because when you meet them, you're like, this guy is not smarter than me and he's doing it. So it's possible. So I can do the same. And that's very empowering, because if you're in your little bedroom and you don't know it's possible, I mean, you see people talking about it, but it's different. Like, that's why I wanted to meet people in a space that are doing it. That gave me that confidence boost. It's always cool. Like, sometimes I meet people that I only know online or they're watching their videos, blah, blah, blah. And then when you meet them, it's like, oh, it's a fucking dude. He went through the same shit as everyone else. He's not an alien. He's not a superhuman. He's a guy that just worked longer than you. Yeah. So
and also he's great at one thing, right? I heard Tim Ferriss and Chris Williamson talk about this, which is like when you meet your heroes, like you think that they're like superhumans at everything, right? But they're usually just really good at one thing: running fucking ads, building houses, running ultra marathons, whatever. But they're very good at one thing, and then they're just a human for everything else. And hopefully they haven't destroyed the rest of their life, right? Which is often the case with people at the very, very top, right?
And it's fine, you know, like when you're, it's hard to grow in all areas at the same time. But I feel like it's better to do it that way. Like, at least for me, a lot of people just grow in one category of life and they forget about the rest. But they needed that in order to understand it and get to a comfortable place with that category and then build up the others. Yeah. So first 2 years of affiliate marketing, I was an unhealthy cunt. Like, I didn't take care of me. And I used to, like, I was always sportive, blah, 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 blah. I got fat, wouldn't sleep, did all the wrong things, but I made hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit. Is it a mistake? Looking back, I can't say it's a mistake. It's a learning process.
It's part of it though, right? That's what I'm like. Wealth is it's an equation. So it's like health, fitness, money, spirituality, freedom, your mindset. It's everything, right? But it's almost like if you only had the freedom, which a lot of people do in their teens, they don't have any money, right? So you have that gap. So it's very hard to tell someone who doesn't have money that life is fucking not perfect with money, but at the same time, they need to go out and acquire it to realize that themselves and then make the change.
And that's fine. Like,
and that's completely normal. Right?
Yeah. You can't judge people that just focus on one thing, because everyone has their own time for everything. You know, some people never get to have a family because they never focus on it, because they're just like addicted to work and they only think about money. Some people never make money but have an amazing family. I mean, and you put it on a scale, like, what's more important? That's subjective. But my approach to life is like, try to grow slow but steady. I try to, again, I see life as a tree. So I want to grow in every aspect. Kind of sometimes I push something further, but then I try to catch up on the rest. You know, like a tree builds itself, and it's gonna grow in, I don't know, just a few trenches and then forget about it. I don't know. I just visualize it like this works for me.
Yeah, man.
And I like it. It makes me feel good. So even if I don't see results right away, I know it's gonna come. I've been in that place before. So I see people doing better. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe not this year. Give me 5 years, whatever it is, but I will get there because I've did it before. It's nothing new. I started with Facebook pages. So I didn't know that I could make money off them, but I saw these other pages with hundreds of thousands of followers and I didn't know how to get there. And then I got there. Then I saw people making money with it. I didn't know how to, and then I got there. And I started affiliate. I saw people making tens of thousands of dollars a day. Didn't know how to, and I got there. Now I'm in media. Gonna get there. That's what you build. You know? That's why I feel like for beginners it's important to build out that confidence and have those small wins, you know, build up that confidence without rushing it. Because then it makes it easier. It makes it also more enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, people are trying to get to the end goal without any of the hard stuff, right? Talk me through the difference between rich and wealthy.
Well, I mean, rich is someone with money. Wealthy is someone with time and money. And that's a big difference. I'd rather be wealthy than rich. Like wealthy is the main goal. Like you don't have wealth if you're working 15 hours per day every single day and you can't get off it. It's okay if it's a phase, it's needed. Still do that at some periods of my year. But if you're stuck in it, then you're not wealthy.
I think that's where like the workaholic approach comes in, right? Because people want to, they set a precedent, they follow it, then they want to stay consistent with that. And it's consistent with the idea, not necessarily with what's required. Like you're the perfect testament to that. You cut your hours down. You didn't need to work it. You were able to optimize what you were doing, and you were able to get better at what you're doing. That's kind of like the goal, right? Or again, you get people. You hire people that help you in that pursuit.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider going big, like building like a bigger business like that, committing like more of your time, more of your resources, because like you have the skill? Is that something that's ever in your path going forward?
Yeah, I would say now media distribution takes a lot of people if you want to scale up. So that's where I see makes sense to have more people. But again, it has to make sense. A lot of people hire just for the sake of hiring. Too fast, burn funds. So even if you have money, you can still like dig yourself in a hole. Yeah. So, but in this case, it makes sense. That's why I never like it. I felt like in my industry, in the affiliate industry, it was cool at some point to suddenly everyone had a team. I was like, why do you have a team? Yeah, because we have media buyers and this and that. And I was like, but do you need them? It's like maybe you're not getting to the next big goal because you're just spreading out thin. So a lot of people ask me like, how do you get to $100,000 a day in revenue? I was like, well, where are you running ads? Oh, I'm running them in Poland. I was like, you need a lot of products to do 100K a day in total. Why don't you focus on one product in a bigger country such as like US? You're gonna get to 100, maybe you get to 50, but god damn it, I mean, it's good. So like then you get so stuck in the process that you don't have time to think and have that clarity to make better decisions to actually grow. Yeah. So now with more experience, I'm like, I have some PTSD because I hire people from the past and it didn't work out. So now I'm getting back into that, but this time with more confidence and experience due to my past successes. So
well, then you know what you're hiring for, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, most people don't know why they're hiring. Does that make sense? They're basically just filling the void because they're bored, as you said, right?
Or they don't know what they're doing, and it goes back to, you know, hiring and people in a broken business. I feel like it's important you understand it first, and then you know how to hire better. Yeah. Right? They say hire your weakness, but you still need to know what your weakness is and how it works. So you're more conscious about hiring, and then you're also more conscious about when to fire people. A lot of people don't fire. You know, I've been guilty of that too. You know, then you fall in love, or you're too nice, or you think like it's gonna work out. But it's equal as believing that I don't know, you meet a girl and you think like she's gonna change for you. That's absolutely wrong. So that's when you need to become strict as well. Firing is more important than hiring.
100%. I've had to leave a bunch of people go over the years. And the way it was framed to me was like, if you're afraid of that person going to a competitor because they're really good, then don't fire them, right? You know, walk through the process you need to get them better. But if they're not someone that's going to light up your business or light up a competitor's business, then they shouldn't be in your company in the first place. And also, if you can't sit on an 8-hour flight with them, you need to be able to have those, like, you need to have a relationship, right, with these individuals. So it's just different ways to look at it, right? I want to pivot more into, you moved to Dubai. So you moved to Dubai and now you're based in Bali. How much do you think, well, you're a combination, you're across two, how much did that influence the business versus like, it was really on you when you moved to Dubai? Like, did that help you grow your business, grow your brand?
I guess it's in the process, but my peak years were me traveling with, you know, a small suitcase, parachute and helmets. That's all. Like, that's when I peaked. That's exactly what I did. But that came after years and years of work and then finding the right combination of things with the right partners and just scaling it, you know, just maintaining a good level. Now I moved to Dubai because I want to build out more things. So if I keep traveling, it's I would be in a different headspace. I hyper focus on one thing. Now I feel like I can finally take on more. I feel like I'm ready to take on more, but to take on more, I feel like it's good for me right now to have a base. That's why I moved to Dubai, because I like the place. It's not far from my family. It's stimulating, and services and lifestyle is amazing. So everything you needed just comes your way very quickly. So that's why I liked it. I was contemplating between LA and Dubai, but then I ended up picking up Dubai. LA because I have partners there. Again, I work in the US. That's my main operations run in the US. But yeah, I just prefer Dubai. So yeah, because I'm doing the affiliates and it keeps running, but I feel like I master it enough to dedicate some extra time to other things, but without underestimating the need of affiliate. But yeah, now I'm doing media, and as a side project, I was telling you, building out in Uluwatu villas, but that's a slow, fun side project because it doesn't require me to be there every single day.
Yeah,
maybe sometimes you need to follow some things, but it's since you're building, it's slow. But that's why I'm here. But I'm not based here. I just come here every now and then. Just
dip in and out, working on projects. I think that's the right way to approach it, right? Because if you were to be here 24/7, you would occupy the mental real estate, right? I think that's where it gets interesting with the fact that if you have that separation, you're able to come in, do what you need to do, move on to the next thing. Tell me about like the lifestyle in Dubai. You mentioned dating as well before. What's that like?
It's a fun mess. It's definitely a fun mess. So it's I think never in history there was such a place on earth where no, but imagine it, like the travel options nowadays and the money, and like never in history, like think about it 100 years ago. If you were king in a city, you would maybe have the girls around the villages there, but Dubai just brings in chicks from all over the world, from the villages in Ukraine, from the favelas of Brazil, from remote places. They all come there. So it's very hyper focused in terms of beauty, but also in terms of money, because Dubai had the vision 50 years ago to build a city that is Dubai nowadays. And it's not because they have oil and gas, because also Qatar has oil and gas, Saudi, blah, blah, blah. But they had the vision to make a desert attractive. So shout out to the leaders in Dubai, because they understood, they're running Dubai like a business. Yeah, that's why they were able to grow it. And now if you check Riyadh or Qatar, they're taking inspiration from that. They're trying to catch up, because they were like, oh my God, first it was all haram what Dubai was doing, but now it makes sense. You know, you attract a lot of smart people. So I think Middle East is going to be the new Europe. Europe is going down, Middle East is going up. 100%. And so it attracts a lot of people that first were not happy with certain circumstances in the world, starting from, you know, the little kaf situation, then wars, political instability, and people go there not just for not paying taxes, but when you're there, it's just refreshing. Because during those hard times, no one really speaks about those topics. So you get there and you're like,
you just focus on what matters, right?
Yeah, no one is talking about, how many did you get? Or the war or this and that. It's just like a safe place where to live. It's like a bubble. It's honestly a bubble.
Same with Bali, right? Bali's also a bubble for different reasons, but it's the same thing. You just come and you do your own shit. And all that Western world is just...
Yeah. That's why it's attracting a lot of people. That's why a lot of people come to Bali, go to Dubai, like travel and find these safe places around the world. So then you have the combination of people with money, smart, blah, 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 beautiful girls. So how is dating? Dating is very easy, but easy doesn't mean it's good. So after some time, you can play the game, it's all fun and games, but can be empty as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just dangerous for girls, because I think like girls are easily hurt by this dating game, or easier, but also men. Like I think men underestimate what comes with dating multiple girls for an extended period of time. Then you get, you're not sensitive to it anymore. Then what happens when you actually find a good girl? Will you ever settle? It becomes like almost an addiction. Forget almost, it becomes an addiction.
Fuck.
And it's a problem. Anything you get addicted to is a problem. So you have to be mindful of that. But again, it's very tempting, even in Bali, because you have so many options. And I guess it can work, works for some time. Forever, I don't think that's healthy. Even Jordan Peterson says, that's kind of what a psychopath does.
For sure, man.
Using people for short-term pleasure. So if you put that in perspective, like if you continuously date multiple girls, what are you putting out? Are you actually a psychopath? I know that's not a popular opinion, because like certain influencers in Romania tell you to like, you gotta have a lot of chicks, you gotta smash them, blah blah blah. But I don't think that's truly healthy over an extended period of time. In fact, all these like the Tate brothers, probably they don't do that. It's just a fucking clown act, which works. I think they're hilarious, but you gotta have some stability in life.
For sure, man. I remember I interviewed Sadia Khan, who's based in Dubai as well.
Yeah.
And she had a really interesting point on this. She mentioned that like a lot of the girls run rings around the guys as well. So like a guy will think that he has like 4 different girlfriends, but they're girlfriends, but the women take off their rings and they're actually married, and they also have 4 different boyfriends.
Yeah.
And they're getting like Prada bags, their fucking food and 5 Palm, all that stuff taken care of. So it's almost like working like as an inverse relationship, basically. So it's almost like everyone is making themselves worse in that process. And I don't know, it's like...
It's very true.
It's just funny because like when you're younger, I don't know, how old are you?
26.
You're 26. Holy shit. I'm 28. When I was 21, 22, that was fine, right? It was kind of like when you're really young, like that's like, it's like nearly acceptable. But as you get up into your 30s, right? Like, is that really what you want to do? Definitely not.
No,
right?
because you become more aware of energies, and actually, it's a big ego thing to say, look, I have a couple girlfriends. They're not your girlfriends. Yeah, maybe some girls love you more than others, but again, it's different. Like, I don't know, every time I was girl, I have a couple girlfriends, but these girls, they run around, and the next guy, if the next guy is available, will take it. Yeah. Very easily, because they want to be committed to someone and feel safe. And if you don't give them safety because you're fucking around, then they will always prefer at some point someone safer. So for you, it might be an ego boost. I'm gonna smash 4 chicks this week. Great. Again, works for some time. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I feel like when I'm 40, I prefer to have a wife and kids and things like that. I think that's like, looking at my grandparents, that gives me more joy than looking at, I don't know, fuck boys running around all the time
on Twitter.
That's a trend nowadays. But
I want to ask you about that actually. So you mentioned Tate. As someone who's an affiliate marketer, what do you think about like Tate's affiliates plan? Yeah,
shitty product, great strategy. Like terrible product, actually, like disgusting. It was actually also a pyramid scheme. You can only become an affiliate if you pay. You have to become a member to actually access their program. But overall, I feel like he rushed the process, so he didn't take care of the branding. That's why it got him in trouble. Media speaking, without leaving out all the legal stuff. But yeah, it was a genius. Like, I mean, content distribution rewarded by commissions, epic. He only had to get on cameras and just say the most absurd things to piss people off, make people laugh, make them feel something. So kids would just cut that out, post it online, and get views. And then put the link in bio, people would subscribe. And then we'll get like 50% of the first sign up, which is $25 because the sign up was like $50. Then it increased, I think, to 100, whatever. But genius, like affiliate wise, he cracked the game in a different way that was unseen before. So
I heard something interesting recently on this. It was Steve Tan, dropshipper Steve Tan.
I know Steve.
Yeah,
he was one of the first guys in 2016 to come to the affiliate show, go on stage with his brother and say, we made $2 million revenue in a month. And we were all like, holy shit,
He's a cool dude, man. He's
known him for years now.
He's such a cool dude.
It got you into business, right?
Yeah, I met him about a month ago, and I was asking him about how Capital Club do their content and like what's the structure in there.
Same thing.
It's the same thing, right? But I was like, oh, you got it not you got it from Tate, but it's a Tate model. And he was like, no. He was like, I have to stop you there. He was like, this model has been running TikTok in China for like 6 years. He was like, they got it from them. And let me tell you about how it's actually done. And he was like, yeah, on TikTok, you can create like 1 billion fucking platforms in China. And there's 1 billion people in China. And they run this like at scale in like a tiny little unit, not them specifically, but people in China. And they've been doing this for like 5 or 6 years. And you're like, yeah, that's actually the model. He was doing a different variation of it. But it's like, yeah, he said something interesting as well about content was the fact that whatever we're doing right now, it was done in China like 4 years ago. So they sprinkle out the ideas of how to do stuff, but they're so insular that they're able to preserve what's working in content, media, products, everything.
Yeah.
Without giving it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they are controlling the narrative. It's a bunch of marketers that use CapCut and follow the terms and conditions on how to represent the brand, have blocked keywords list to control the narrative. So they're marketing it, and the way they do it is they want to put as many billboards out there, and it doesn't matter if you're going to piss people off or some people are going to hate you, they're still going to see you. And that's what they're feeding off. So then they're going to attract some people and convert them into users for their, platform. So that's smart. It's more controlled than what Tate was doing. Tate was just onboarding anyone without any branding control. So it is, maybe they took it, they saw it happening more in China, but they only started doing it now.
Yeah.
So I think it was a wake-up call as well to see that you can combine it with education, or maybe they just decided to pull the trigger now, whatever it is, but it's fascinating. So it's definitely something I'm looking into it, and it's fun to execute. It's a new thing to crack.
For sure, right? Because I remember I heard you mention before about like how businesses can use affiliate, like how can you set it up from a business perspective? And it's quite interesting because, we do like high ticket client services, but there still is an affiliate component because a lot of people who follow us will actually recommend our service to other people. Like, our boss or whatever might use it, So we're getting kind of like distribution through helping people, through education with the content, but that's opening up doors. That's affiliate programs for people, which I didn't even realize it was coming intuitively, right? And I just think like, how do you think about that from other people's perspective? Like, how can you add that component into your business? Because there's different ways you can slice and dice it, right?
So if you refer to your friends, that's one thing. If you even take 5-10%, it's free money. You do it once or twice, done. But if you want to scale with affiliates, you gotta take that referral small commission away. Like, that's not how you should think about affiliate. Affiliates leverage usually paid media, also organic, and therefore they need high margins to make it worth it. So if you sell a product at $50 and you get paid $10, it's not gonna work. The affiliate is not gonna have the incentive to actually promote the product. And that's why not every company is ready to do affiliate marketing at high scale, because they don't have their system optimized. because affiliate should be a way to acquire customers at low cost or almost free, and then monetize those customers on other second, third purchases, but not in the first one. Sorry?
The value ladder from there.
Yeah. So I work with businesses that understand this and pay me the highest commission possible because they know that I can bring them hundreds of customers a day, if not thousands. And they will start working on those customers later on. So basically I take the entire revenue of the first sales, even more sometimes. So if the AOV is like $150, I get $100 easily, if not more. So if you take off the cost, they're probably breaking even, slightly losing money. But then if they're good at it afterwards with the LTVs, they're going to make money. And that's how you crack media buying in general. Like a lot of companies, especially in America, they don't make much money on the first sale, if not any money. So it's possible to do it in other smaller countries where, in blue oceans, not the red oceans. So if you applied red ocean tactics into blue oceans, you're going to fucking smash it. Actually, it might be even too early to do it because then you accelerate the growth in that market too quickly. But so if I run e-commerce in Italy, I want to make money on the first sale. If I run it in the US, I don't care about making money right away. I will optimize my shit so I can make money afterwards. So if you're running affiliate, you should get that in perspective because the space is very competitive and you want to give your soldiers, your media buyers, your affiliate, the best tools possible in order to make it, which includes good commissions. Yeah. So if you're selling a digital product for $200 and that's all you sell, then if you give a high commissions, you're probably not going to make money. But if someone told me today, if you have one product for $200 or $1,000, whatever, and they tell me like, yeah, I'm going to bring you 1,000 customers a week and you pay me $1,000 for your $1,000 product, I will take it right away because then I have a base that I can work with. And that's exciting. But if I'm being greedy, I was like, no, I want to maximize the profit on those $1,000 a day and I don't think about the future, then I'm going to give them the lowest possible commission and not scale.
100%.
So that's the difference. And I think like that's important to understand. You want to give an excessive almost payouts.
That's applicable to even very, very high ticket stuff as well, right? Because I think our average like monthly retainer is 5K. It's pretty standard, right, for client services. But I would pay out 25%, which is like 1,300 or 1,400.
Appointment closers?
No, for a referral.
Okay.
So yeah, so if someone gives a referral, it's like 1,500 quid paid out. And that's obviously like a lot for someone who's just walking in the street and was like, oh yeah, my mate here can help you, whatever. So that just keeps, what I'm trying to say is that keeps the incentive high. So it's like, that's a higher scale. But if you did it on a lower scale, it's obviously the same thing too, right? No one's going to fucking ship your product for you on your behalf if you're paying them $10. Yeah. It's completely different. Yeah. I want to ask you specifically about what you were doing. So you mentioned to me that like the pharma world is like bullshit.
The what?
The pharmaceutical world, the big pharma world.
Oh yeah.
So let's dive into that. So you're a healthy dude, you train. What made you change your mind on that, or what gave you the insight into that? Are you an entrepreneur who wants to build your influence and authority online? You may have tried some of the hacks and tricks, but none of it has worked. And it makes sense. 90% of podcasts don't make it to episode 3. Of the 10% that are left, 90% of them don't make it to episode 20. That's where Voex comes in. Voex creates, manages, and grows your podcast for you on your behalf. If you've not been getting leads, not been growing consistently, you haven't found your tribe, and you don't know what to do, Voex is the answer. Don't just take our word for it. In the past couple of years, we've managed over 35 podcasts. We've also been able to generate over 55 million views with 500 episodes produced. And not only that, generating over $1 million for our clients in products, services, and sponsorships. So if you want to learn more about how you can build a great podcast and have it fully managed for you, schedule a call with me at Voex and we will help you achieve your podcast goals.
It's interesting. Like it all came together. The moment I started selling health products was the time I was getting healthier again. So it kind of like the universe brought it together. Supplements are cool. If you sell supplements, you should give realistic expectations, and you should make clear that what you're selling is not the magic pill is going to get you shredded, for example, but it's going to improve your overall health. It promotes health and things like that. So we became very sensitive to that topic to sell it in a very ethical way. Also because at the scale we're running, There's no other way.
Yeah.
Because we got FDAs or other entities sometimes reaching out because something was, I wouldn't say wrong, but just out of context, or it was lacking some context, or we had to add it. So that's just to give some context on how strict we are with our ads, because they were seen by millions of people. And
then you get shut down. And you're
we don't get shut down. Like, we never got shut down because we have a good legal team. But we need to be mindful of certain things. Like, people go out and promote things like, I don't know, take the supplements, you're going to lose 10 pounds over.
Let's get into that as well, man.
Yeah,
I'm all about that.
I love to expose scammers. But so I think the entire pharmaceutical industry is a scam because they don't want to empower people. It's very easy to go to a doctor and give the doctor the entire authority over your health. It's a very lazy approach. Like, if I go to a doctor and I follow every instruction that the doctor gives me, I'm taking zero responsibility for my own health. And that's fucking dangerous because you're basically giving someone with dressed like a doctor, the keys to your future. And that's very dangerous. But people do that, and people are taught that way. People are not taught that you can heal yourself. People are not taught that overprescription is an issue. The amounts of people that die, like, let's go through the most common death reasons in the US. The first one is cancer. It's like 500,000 people, 600,000 people die of cancer every year. Heart diseases, second place. Number one reason why people die. The number one reason why people die is due to treatment. So either overprescribing drugs or the wrong treatment. But no one speaks about that. Why? Because it makes a lot of money. So that's why it's even insane how many people are selling actual pharmaceutical drugs right now in the US. Sometimes there's a new drug coming on the market, and people make a lot of money selling that because they just give out commissions like crazy.
Fucking hell.
Like, now there's like Ozempic. Oh, it's so easy to run it as an affiliate if I wanted to, or as a seller that sells directly to, B2B in the US. It's highly incentivized, but it's fucking dangerous because you don't know what you're selling, so there's the wrong incentives, and big pharma is trying to control this whole narrative that you need to consume drugs in order to heal yourself. What they don't want to let you know about is that you can actually heal yourself.
100%.
And it's all also a foundation of how medicine is taught. It has the wrong layers. It's all based on Newtonian physics. So you basically, to make it short, you're gonna cure something by just focusing on that one part. If I have problem on my knees, they're just gonna analyze the knee and not you as a whole human being and how you live. So, for example, if you start going to other doctors that have a more holistic approach, like osteopaths, when I have issues with my knees, they start analyzing me as a whole. How do you eat? What do you do? Do you sit all day? Blah, blah, blah. Because even if, for example, if I have stomach problems and my stomach is tense, my back muscles are going to be tense. It's going to affect the way I walk. Therefore, it's going to affect how my knee can feel. So that's coming out now. It's becoming more popular. And that's also based more on like how your environment is. So more on the quantum physics. Right now, they're studying more how quantum physics works. And it's one of the layers on how chemistry and then biology, like if you change the baseline, the rules, if you imagine like a pyramid and the base of the pyramid is physics, if a physical law changes or we understood something new, then all the rest needs to adapt because that's how mechanism works, and mechanism works with physics. So if you change, if there are a law changes at the bottom, biology needs to adapt, and that's not happening. So and why it's not happening as well? Because it's incentivized not to change, because you sell pills that people buy and it makes money. So medicine is doing a terrible job in treating things like cancer or heart attacks or Alzheimer, but it's doing a very good job in treating things that are isolated. If I need to cut something out, if I need to have a surgery, they're doing a fantastic job on that, but they're not promoting self-healing. Why? Because it doesn't make money. So that's why it's a scam. But actually you can heal yourself. And that's something that, for example, doctors like Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton is amazing. He wrote a book about epigenetics, how your beliefs, how the environment can change your biology. Because with all the dogma that came with, for example, the discovery of the DNA back in the 50s, basically, if your family had cancer, you're likely going to have cancer. That's a lie. Yeah. It's not true.
100%.
And if you believe that it's true, it's also disempowering.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You'll attract it because the beliefs affect your biology.
So I completely agree with absolutely everything you said. And just to add to that, I had like family members talk about how heart disease was in the female side of my family. And the individual that was saying it was drinking full fat Coke, eating crisps and chocolate bars and like breakfast and drinking loads of alcohol. And I said, well, you're going to end up getting that heart disease that's passed down to you genetically if you fucking eat that Coke and all that shit, right? Because that's just going to happen to you. But if you stopped doing that and stopped feeding into this bullshit narrative, then it wasn't going to happen. And take it out in contrast, like I've literally never been healthier in my entire life. I don't need any processed food, no sugar, train 6 days a week, get my recovery, get everything in. And I've never felt better. And everything that I was told has become completely false over the years, right? You mentioned like the illness and the pharmaceutical.
But do you believe also that it's, because belief is even, I would say, almost important as doing the right thing.
Believe in terms of, do I believe that I'm healthier, or believe that that's...
If you believe that it's not going to happen to you, or even think, you don't even think it's an option. Because if you see, I'm not going to get sick, what our brain processes is sick, not sick. So you're still going to think about sickness. But if you shift away from that, and maybe working out 6 days a week helps you that, you're gonna run away from it even better. But
I don't even consider it as an option, right?
Correct. That's important because if you still consider it as an option, despite training, it's still there, and that is dangerous.
That's super interesting because when I was younger, I played sport at a very high level, around 100-meter track, played rugby at a high level.
Nice.
And getting injuries is really common. Being injured is really common. And from 17 to 21, kind of was always injured, like small fractures or hamstrings or pulls, whatever. And then it's almost like as I've gotten older, I've gotten healthier and fitter. And I don't even consider that stuff. None of that stuff is even in the frontal cortex of my mind, because I just get up and I focus on things that I enjoy and I work on things that I need. Like my nutrition's dialed in. Obviously in Bali, it's so easy, right? You can have cooks, you can have everything at the highest level of food. And even if you eat like very, very premium quality food here, it's nothing. Like it's like $40 a day max, But you mentioned illness. So one of our clients, this is kind of relevant to me, one of our clients in our company, she works in the science space, very, very high end, like very on the same level as like Huberman in the States. And she had an observation study that was done by one of the biggest investment banks in America. I don't want to mention the name, but they estimated the size of the industry of illness. And that industry of illness is growing. And isn't that great for investors? Because now we can invest in pharmaceutical companies who can market to the illness industry. It's health, not illness, right? But they've created an industry that's around people being fat, lazy, broke. And now they're recommending doing statins and all this shit for your blood pressure versus alleviating stress, eating well, getting good recovery, focusing on all the variables that you need, but instead give you this pill. Now, I come from Ireland, which is like pretty cheap for medical care. But as a result, people go to GPs, general practitioners, and there's actually like an epidemic of over-the-counter drugs for sure. Like paracetamol, all this kind of drugs. People just take them 24/7. And what's ironic is that I was also even in that position when I was younger. I was like, you might have a pain or an injury or whatever. Just take a thing, right? And it was only until you literally zoom out, and I feel like most entrepreneurs like have that kind of in them. It's like the ability to zoom out and be like, why am I doing it this way? And I know it's been interesting, right? Because I've always been healthy, always trained at a high level. But even the past couple of years, I've changed my diet quite a lot. I've went from sleeping very little to a lot, 7 or 8 hours very frequently now, changed my training. And I just think that like the second you stop trying to learn is a second you fall into this bullshit, right? And thinking, oh, I'll just take this pill or whatever.
Very disempowering.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to the entrepreneur's goal is to have control over what happens in your life.
Yeah.
You've just lost that fucking control, right?
Yeah. And on top of what you just said, that the illness industry makes a lot of money, there's incentivized for insurances to kick in.
100%.
And in America, it's just insane. It's a whole Ponzi scheme.
100%.
With the insurances and all. It's just like a vice. They're just making it bigger. That's why they're trying to give us shitty food, and that's why eating good organic stuff, it's super expensive, and the average person can't afford it. You know, like before Walmart or so, like in US, you would go buy food in by local shops and have good quality stuff. And now you can't compete with those prices because Walmart came in and has a lower quality chicken at a lower price. So people prefer that. When I'm in LA, for example, I eat at Erewhon. Erewhon is a super, it's overpriced to be honest, but you have everything is organic and everything tastes amazing. And I just love it. But it's a luxury nowadays.
For sure.
We're going to start eating, insects before we know it. If you look at what the World Economic Forum speaks one time a year when they meet up in Switzerland, it's very interesting. You can actually see where they're planning to go and how excited they are. That's the scary part. Like when you start seeing these people that actually have influence in the world, how excited they are that they're going to install microchips or, scan our brainwaves during work, and how they're going to penalize us or incentivize us to think about certain things while we work. For example, if you get distracted, they're going to penalize it and deduct it from our salary, versus if you just behave normally, nothing is going to happen to you. And how excited they are about speaking these things is fucking crazy. And then how they want to normalize it, we're going to eat insects. Yeah. And how they promote all this vegan bullshit that is just a fucking hoax anyways. Like,
have you heard about the ultra processed food? So there was Dr. Sean Baker was on Joe Rogan, and he did like the research on it. Was like, well, he didn't do the research. The research was done by the company. It was like some American large company that were trying to create ultra processed food, which is not just like regular processed. It's like, it's another level of refinement. And they were trying to categorize that actually had more nutrients, because they were injecting nutrients like vitamins and shit and minerals than regular food. So the fact that it's ultra processed, they're saying, well, we can inject the minerals that we want in it. So you're actually going to get a better profile of food. But the whole fucking idea from food is that you get the organic minerals, right? Like that's why the issue with a vegan diet is like when you supplement with it, it's like, why don't you just fucking eat the meat in the first place? Now, whatever, there's ethical reasons people do it, but it's still not the same as eating the actual food, right? Yeah. And like there's many different examples in that. But what I just think is interesting is the fact that that's when we move more into like powders and insects and all this bullshit, which is like, if we go back to the core of like what we should be eating, like I'm fully animal based 100% in terms of just red meat and fruit that comes out of the floor, and everything is organic in Bali. But it's expensive. It is expensive, right? And
it's a luxury, and they make it in such way so it's harder to escape. Yeah, it becomes harder and harder. So nowadays, it's not like an option to. I think it shouldn't be an option to become a solopreneur or make money by yourself. I think it's a fucking necessity if you want to survive.
100%.
So that fear is still in me. I had more fear when I didn't know this, when I didn't have the money, but I was looking around and I was hyper paranoid. I was like, fuck, they're doing the Bilderberg meetup the same day the European Cup starts, and who meets there? You see the Kissinger, you see all the presidents of different countries, you see CEOs of huge companies, Airbus, and they all meet there. No one speaks about it because everyone is distracted by another huge event. And I'm like, fuck, this is all designed. You put the dots together and you can't unsee it anymore.
100. When was that for you? When did you have that unplugging?
I think 15, 16, something like that. When I started, I don't know, I was just always curious how the world works. How does this work? Blah, blah, blah. Just asking questions until you start finding answers and you're like, holy shit, like it's interesting. So I was hyper paranoid, like, actually I feel like over time, because I was so focused on other things, I became softer on that topic, but I was hyper sharp. I was so focused on like getting out of the system. I was scared when I was doing biometrics and all of that. It's insane the level of control there is. And people don't realize, because if this type of control happened overnight, like all the new controls that came, like all the new ways to control us came out the same day, we would wake up.
Yeah.
But how they did it is very smart. Every now and then they introduce something new after something happened. After, by causing fear, they introduce a new way to make us feel safe. So then we accept this new type of control.
Like central bank digital currencies after COVID, right?
Yeah,
So
everything.
don't handle cash. Use
Everything.
your central bank digital currency instead.
I wanna talk about how I lived it. Like, I was 4 years old when 9/11 happened. From no controls or very light controls at the airport to full-on body scans with the excuse of a very traumatic event. Then they introduce a new technology that we carry out every day, everywhere we go, which is a phone. So we're incentivized by a benefit now. Then the comfort of traveling around and just having your face scanned, biometrics in your passport. Then traumatic events like, the viruses and things like that. You're going to accept to inject something in your body. Next thing that is already being talked about since many years is microchips in your body. But it's funny when you find papers or researches or what the Rockefeller Foundation, for example, puts out as documents, it's very interesting to read them and see that all these scenarios have been already studied and they're just being applied over time. So it's fucking scary when you go read. There was a paper in 2010 talking about 4 different scenarios by the Rockefeller Institute or Foundation. And one of the 4 scenarios was if the cough virus would come or any type of... So it was interesting how they predicted what would happen, and it's exactly what happened. It was written that China would be the country that would take the most extreme measures. The people would have to, wear things to cover your mouth, and drugs would be produced, and basically that the control from top to bottom would be restored. Because if you look at the past years, a lot of people had distrust. There's a lot of distrust in the government, but when these events happen, people tend to follow the government again.
100%.
They obey. So seeing how much obedience there was by the people and how much policing happened between people, that all the fucking NPCs just like, you're not this, you're not wearing that. It was scary. That's what scared me the most.
And that's the element of social proof as well. In Influence by Robert Cialdini, he talks about how if people are in indecision, so they don't know what to do next, they'll look to the masses to just basically conform. So if you see someone fall down the street, people freeze, but they don't freeze because they're afraid. They freeze because they don't know what to do. But if one person goes over, everyone will go over to help them. So generally, that's where a government in particular will take as much leap as possible, because they know that in that moment, that small window, could be 4 hours, 20 minutes, they have the authority figure.
Yeah.
And they can say, shut off the fucking flights, close down the borders. And then everybody will hold to it. And it's just very interesting to observe, right? Because it just takes a few people to...
And it's funny because they can take the lead because they create the circumstances as well, if you want to.
And they also they own the infrastructure, right? It's just like, a good way to view it as well is like, we're your business. You can do whatever you want. You could stop tomorrow. You can slow down. You can not run the ads because it's your house. I think people think that because you have a business or whatever, you don't have control, but it's the opposite. When you are the one that owns the chips, you're the casino that runs the house. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Right?
And it goes deeper than just the government level. If you zoom out and you check where the money goes, you will always understand what's happening. Talk
to me about food. So what do you eat as a result? Like, talk me through like your diet and everything.
Processed food, vegan butters, vegan steaks. Yeah, it's amazing. I love that stuff. Makes me feel empowered. And I'm finally a pussy. I finally reached my ultimate level of pussy.
Nice. And
by the way, I go by she, him, depending on the mood as well. So.
Depending on the bachelor. So do you get like a lot of things organic in Dubai? Like what's your process? Yeah,
like one of the first thing I wanted to stop doing was checking out the price tag when I buy food. I just wanted the best thing possible. That happened, unfortunately, very quickly. It's the best freedom we can have.
For sure.
Just buy what's healthier. So I don't care if I spend a lot of money in food. I spend a lot of money in food.
I'm the same. I
love it.
Crazy amounts.
Yeah.
It's probably the most I spend in a month.
Yeah. I care about grass-fed or grain-fed. It tastes better to me as well, but it also feels better. The eggs, or it's also insane when I go back to Europe, how the level of food is going down every time I go back. Like the eggs, the chicken, the costs. Like if you wanna, there are different ranges in Germany, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the best, and it's like if you get 250 grams of chicken, it could cost you $10. But if you get level 1, it costs you like $3. So obviously people are gonna go for the shitty one. But also the whole game of bio labels and stuff is also a scam.
Yeah.
Because even like in America, there's no, I mean, you can say organic or free range, but free range is a scam.
Yeah. They just fuck them into the crate, right? And they're like, oh yeah, free range.
Yeah, it's a fucking scam. So I love like the farmers markets in the US, because you can actually buy from farms directly. But the law says that if you want to label your eggs as free range, you just need to open a door for 5 minutes a day, and that's called free range. And the chicken live in a space by like 2 feet times 2, and there are like I don't know how many chickens inside. So it's like it's a fucking jail, but it's a scam. They all play with the perception of people.
You want to hear something crazy? So when you're in America and it says like made in America, or like the beef is from America, for America to say that in their products, all they need to do is do something to the product in the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the meat comes from like South America, it comes from like Brazil or Colombia or Argentina, and they send it up, and it's all factory farmed down there, and they send it up, and then they put a stamp, and the stamp they put is made in America, and because they put the stamp on, they're entitled to do it legally. It's fucked, man.
Yeah.
It's so like I've got food from Whole Foods and shit, super expensive. Threw it on the pan, and 400 grams or 200 grams of chicken, to keep it simple, just shriveled up into a tiny ball. And it's like $12, $13.
You know
what do you do as a result of that? Like, what's the action there?
I was about to say it. You want to be truly rich or wealthy? Buy a farm. Buy a farm. We're going back to the roots.
Yeah.
And it's needed. Like I always think about farm. That's why buying land and things like that is cool. And if you have land, you have part. In fact, again, if you follow money, you see all these, billionaires. They're buying land. No one talks about it, but Jeff Bezos is buying so much land because he's going to control that. Food is never going to run out. So if you control food, it's a big win. That's why buying Whole Foods was a great move by Amazon. They're all buying acres and acres and acres of land. Just big deals. And that does give them power. Or water. People are buying water. Like we're going back to roots because it's going to be needed. It's going to be expensive to survive and eat healthy food. So I'm not going to name drop anyone, but I was not close, but I was with this Italian politician, very influential in Italy. And his son told me some scary things. He told me that some class of people have to go. And that's just how it is. And it's for our survival. And that's why certain things are happening in the world. Mind that I was like 19 when I heard that. And to be fair, I'm always debating one thing. Like we always label these things as a very mean thing. But I keep a door open saying like, I'm not in control of the world. Yeah. But if I was, would I behave the same way? Are there things we don't understand that it's better that the common public doesn't understand? Because it's easy like, oh, this is evil, blah, 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 blah. And in many ways it is, but sometimes might be needed. But I wonder. I can't imagine. Even if I question that, I still don't comply, let's say.
Yeah. Well, the average person doesn't have the tools to be able to deal with the reality of the world. Like if you knew what was exactly happening, that's why you made a good point about like, what can I control? And that's a big thing for me too, is that I'm aware of this and I take control of myself and my family around me, but I can only influence what I can influence. And I'm not going to put my head up and be a martyr, right? Because that's just like a stupid move to say, like to be the front of it, and then you're just going to get taken down, basically, right? So it's like, what can I do? Part of my contribution that I want to expose myself to, because all the other stuff, as you mentioned with this guy, that's happening. Like those things are happening,
It's a very thin line with, like, you said you don't want to be a martyr, but at the same time, you want to help your friends or your people around you.
Exactly, yeah.
So nowadays, doing that, it's an art.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. People that are doing it well, people that are doing it aggressively and very impactful, but they get burned. So it's a very thin line to be able to know how to navigate that. And I think somewhat is needed, you know, like
sure.
It's interesting to see that there is a resistance out there, free speech and all of that. We can always question and be very thoughtful and actually try to understand the motives, for example, of why Elon Musk's, I don't know, buy Twitters and promotes free speech. There's a bigger play there, but at the same time, it's cool to see that there is some common sense left and there's still people acting that way. Common sense, something that is missing nowadays. And I think like if you have common sense nowadays, you have a future on media because people relate to that. Like some people are just so on the left wing extreme, blah, 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 that they lack common sense because of that. And people that have some common sense easily get labeled as like conspiracy theorists or whatnot, but actually just fucking common sense in many ways.
Yeah,
and
man.
seeing that they're getting together, like, I don't know, founder of Telegram, Durov, or Tucker Carlson, Musk, Trump, even to some degree, you know, like they're all, obviously they have their interests, but it's nice to see that there's a thinking mind behind that acts differently than the whole narrative that is trying to be pushed.
Yeah.
Which is all this fucking pussy stuff.
Well, if you think about it, right, if you go all the way back to the Roman times, so why the Colosseum was made was to soothe people. There was lots of unrest in Rome. They wanted to become a republican again. And the only way they could keep people from revolting was by running games.
And entertain them.
Them. What's modern entertainment? Social media, sport, all this shit is like modern entertainment to get people to soothe, basically, and cope, right? So I completely agree, like we're losing more common sense, but it's actually been around forever because...
They always try to control the narrative.
And when people don't have the base, so we go back to the beginning of this conversation, which is like, we don't have the base of stability, money, freedom, access to information. When you don't have that, you kind of scramble. And I've seen my parents scramble for years, right? And as a result, you don't have time to think about all the other shit going on because you're just trying to survive, right? So what do we do with those people that are trying to survive? We occupy their brain with news, sport, TV shows, reality TV. Keep them busy and we can focus on our own stuff. It's like a baby. People talk about they don't want iPad kids, but the second your child starts screaming, people put the fucking iPad there, right? Because they can get them to be distracted so you can focus on what you want to do.
But again, there is a thin line as well.
Of course.
For example, when you fly on planes during the day, I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes it's just dark in the plane. Why do they do that? Because if it was light, people would just stand up all the time, go to the bathroom, occupy all the corridors and ask for drinks nonstop. And the crew doesn't like it. They want to sit down and relax. So they keep everything dark. Yes. So at the macro level, it's the same thing. It's easier to control people if you control the narrative and you keep them busy, as you say. So actually, you can see in the Gladiator, the movie, how that is part of the movie. Like there's a Commodore trying to control or get influence in the city of Rome and the Empire of Rome, and he announces a full month of games or like a full period of games, and then there's a gladiator coming in and killing him. But that's a side story. But it's interesting, as you said, it was always there.
History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes.
Always. It's just like a different scale because right now it's more global than local. Before it was more local. Then with internet and all the travel options and blah, blah, we were all more interconnected. That's why we feel fear if there is an attack happening on the other side of the world. It's the same type of control. Why do they promote terrorist attacks around the world?
Fear.
Yes. If they like logically thinking with common sense, if someone kills people in Paris and their goal is to get attention, would I give them attention? No, I would promote their game. But maybe it's intended to promote their game because they want to instill fear. So the best thing if you actually want to stop terrorist attacks is not to talk about it. What's the point after that? If no one knows it happens, it would not have all this influence. But they want you to let you know that it happened. Why? Fear. It's easier. With fear, it's easier to control. So it's...
Yeah, man. And I've just seen that time and time again. You know, what's interesting is the fact that we can look at America and see that from the outside. And we're like, oh yeah, like, you know, mainstream media and whatever. But it's happening at a local level.
It's happening everywhere.
But they don't realize it. So especially in Ireland, right? You have like one news channel that owns everything. And everyone sits down 9 a.m., noon, 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. for the news.
It's almost scary how religious it is.
Oh, yes. And people sit down and they watch it religiously, and they'll watch the car crashes, the murders, the rapists, all this shit pop up, and then they go to international news, wars, crime, whatever. But instead of like shilling the negative news, there's not one bit of positive news, right? But we know this, obviously. But the impact then as a result of this means that people are more fearful to leave. Why do we want people not to leave? Because we want them keeping in the country, right? And I know in particular, Ireland were not happy when a lot of young people our age got up and moved to Australia. Irish people moved to Australia. It's really weird. But there's like 40,000 people went after the scamdemic, which is like most of the 20-year-olds. Only 4 million people in Ireland, right? So it was interesting to observe, right? Because if we told everyone that the world is scary, we can keep them
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
and soothed, right?
I mean, during this pandemic, it appeared that there would be the army at the border.
That
Fucking
happened.
no one.
That happened.
I mean, some places, yeah.
Happened
But
in Ireland.
It happened.
It was my partner flew in, and they like detained her because they wanted to look
insane.
at documents and everything, and it was the army that took her off the plane in Ireland.
That's insane.
It's the reality.
I traveled a lot during this pandemic.
Same.
It was the best time to travel.
Best flights.
Best-
Cheapest flights. It was
Yeah.
amazing, man.
No, it was amazing. But people were like, wait, how can you actually go there? I was like, you take a car, you go to the airport, and you take a fucking plane. But because of the fear, people thought it was impossible.
Yeah.
No, insane.
I loved it, man. It was great. I was able to travel wherever I wanted. I was getting like 7-star hotels for like $40 a night.
Went to Dubai?
Everywhere. Just like everywhere, man. Like if I was in Mexico, I was in Tulum. It was just such a nice time, right?
Yeah,
And it's counter narrative, right?
Selfishly, I would repeat 2020.
And that's what happens even in Asia, right? People are like, oh, it's so busy. It's like, you should have seen in 2020. It was a lot better back then.
Yeah. Actually, in China, everything was more advanced than even America, with all the narratives and control, the social scores, if you can get on flights or not, if you have a low social score, penalized if you walk on the wrong side of the road, things like that. It's even scary. But what does that teach us? That they're just a few years ahead. That's coming here. And they will find a way to make us think that is okay. And I like the example of putting a frog in a pot and slowly start heating up the water till the frog gets comfortable, becomes warmer and warmer, and then the frog starts being tired because of the heat, and then it just is not able to jump out of the pot anymore and gets cooked. We're getting cooked same way, slowly. But you're only aware if you put dots together, if you have time to think. But people don't have time to think. They come home, they get influenced by the media, and they think this is how it is. They never have time to think. That's why I feel like, yes, it is important to grind hard and make it a blah, blah, blah. But allocate time to actually see what's happening around you, to survive, to improve your business, to connect the dots. Because once you connect them, you can't unsee them. All these random things happening around the world, all these terrorist attacks, all these things, what is the narrative? Where is it going? And when you see this, every time something happens, you're like, all right. And then all these theories end up being true. Yeah. But then, but now it's obvious that 9/11, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, back then, you were policing that we have to...
You can't connect the dots forward. It's only backwards, right?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, and that's the whole reality with this stuff. But what I like about your perspective on this is the fact that you're well equipped. Right? Going forward, you're not 21-year-old figuring it out anymore. You have the resources in place, basically. You have the assets, you have the resources. I think that's what most people aren't thinking about. I'm very, very paranoid about that stuff too as well, which is why I was grinding so much for so many years, so that then in the event of something happening, not even to do it at a macro level, a micro level, things are okay. We're able to take care of it.
I think paranoid is, it's not paranoid. Being aware of what's going on is the first step. So then you realize the importance of being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think I'm fully self-sufficient. I don't have a fucking farm. If tomorrow they cut down the food supply, I'm fucked. So I'm not in full control, but I'm getting there. But yeah, as you say, people don't have the tools when they start out. And that's a very difficult place to be. And it's not like things get easier, but over time you just have more tools. You're equipped to actually survive better.
Yeah.
So I think to be fully independent, you need to be able to provide for you and your family fully, not just financially, but like actually own the things that help you live. That's why I'm obsessed with having a farm, and I'm checking farms since almost too long. I think I should just pull the trigger because I'm still comfortable. You know, the frog in the pot. I can just go on Deliveroo and order food.
Yeah.
But it's not reality.
Okay, last question. Where would you buy the farm?
I would buy multiple farms. But what if they shut down one and then I don't have the other one? That's why I need more than one jet parked left and right.
You don't own the land, right? You think about it.
No, even if you own the land, then maybe something happens in the country and they take it away. So if you want to be anti-fragile, you need more setups, and you need to have more planes and means of travel so you can actually escape. You need an atomic like a bunker or something like that. You need it all, you know, like, and in more places. Because if now I'm in Bali and it happens now, I'm FUICKAD, you know, like I cannot travel right away. So I need, in my idea, if I had multiple jets, multiple farms, multiple bunkers, multiple everything, then I have some level of comfort. Right now, it's still like, I'm so fragile. They block the flight, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. Block a bank account, block a social media platform.
Yeah.
You know, you're always one click away from it.
Yeah.
I want to say a big thank you. I feel like we could go for another couple of hours, man. Hopefully you enjoyed the session. Hopefully it was different. And yeah, man, it's just fucking sick. I loved it.
No, thanks for having me, man.